How to choose low-carb ingredients. A low-carbohydrate diet can help you lose weight, but it's not healthy to cut carbs out completely. Some carbs are good for us and provide us with essential nutrients, so the best way to approach a low-carb diet is to gradually phase out the filler carbs in your diet and replace them with nutritious, wholesome food. Don't try to reduce carbs rapidly, or you will experience mood swings and hunger pangs, and might end up losing the willpower to reshape your diet. Method 1: Filling up with veggies. 1. Eat leafy greens. Leafy greens like kale, spinach, chard, mustard greens, turnip greens, and collards are excellent sources of nutrition. They provide essential vitamins like A, C, E, and K, as well as calcium, potassium, and fiber. Since they're very low in carbs and high in nutrients, leafy greens are an essential component of any low-carb diet. Choose leafy greens that are dark in hue, rather than lighter salad greens like iceberg or romaine lettuce. While lettuce can be tasty, it doesn't pack the nutritional punch of darker greens. Most leafy greens require a little cooking in order to soften the leaves and make them easier to digest. Try them sautéed, roasted, or slow-cooked with pork or chicken stock to make delectable side dish. 2. Limit root vegetables. Potatoes, carrots, turnips, beets, and other root vegetables are high in carbohydrates, so they shouldn't be your first choice when you're picking ingredients for a low-carb diet. However, root vegetables are high in essential nutrients like vitamins A, C, and K, so they still have a place on your plate. Eating a few serving sizes of root vegetables per week can be a healthy part of your low-carb lifestyle. Eat only freshly cooked root vegetables, like roasted or boiled potatoes. Processing root vegetables to make fries and chips strips them of nutrients and leaves mostly starch, fat, and salt. Choose red potatoes, blue potatoes, or sweet potatoes over white russet potatoes. Russet potatoes, the classic baking potato, have a high glycemic load, meaning they affect your blood sugar in a way that causes weight gain. Other types of potatoes have smaller glycemic loads. 3. Try vegetables you've never had before. A low-carb lifestyle doesn't have to feel limiting, especially when you're open to trying new vegetables. Once you get used to making vegetables the most prominent part of your meals, you'll come to appreciate the nuances in flavor and texture. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts are excellent roasted with olive oil and salt. Try chopping them into bite-sized pieces and tossing them with your favorite spices before roasting. Baking winter squash, such as acorn or butternut, is a great way to satisfy your sweet tooth. Dress the squash with melted butter and a sprinkle of cinnamon. 4. Keep it seasonal. Since grocery stores carry imported produce all year long, it can be easy to forget that vegetables have seasons. Vegetables taste much better when you eat them while they're in season at the height of ripeness. You'll be more likely to stick to your low-carb lifestyle if you choose the tastiest vegetables possible, so check a seasonal produce chart to find out what's in season in your area. Spring and summer are exciting seasons for the low-carb eater, since there's no end to the variety of vegetables available during these times. Look for asparagus, green onions, peas, Swiss chard, spinach, arugula, and much more. If you want to enjoy your favorite vegetables out of season, try buying them in season and freezing or canning them when they're ripe. 5. Visit a farmer's market. There are a lot of good reasons to buy your vegetables from a farmer's market. For starters, they're less likely to have been treated with pesticides, shipped from a faraway place, and packaged with unappetizing plastic. Produce grown organically and stored and packaged minimally is more nutritious. Find a good local farmer's market and visit it as much as you want to meet your produce needs. Consider participating in Community-Supported Agriculture, CSA. You can sign up with a local farm to receive seasonal produce once a week. It's a great way to support a local farm and end up with delicious vegetables. Farmers markets are an excellent place to find vegetables you won't see in big chain grocery stores. Look for special varieties like mini eggplants, stinging nettles, great for soup and pesto, dandelion greens, ramps, and more. Method 2: Adding protein and oils. 1. Eat eggs for breakfast. Versatile eggs are the low-carb eater's friend. Eggs are a great source of protein and healthy omega-3 fats. For the highest nutritional content, look for pasture-raised eggs laid by chickens fed a natural diet of healthy plants. It's hard to get tired of eggs, since there are endless ways to cook them. Make your scrambled eggs more filling by tossing in spinach, chopped mushrooms, shallots, and any other veggies you have on hand. To make an easy 2-ingredient pancake batter, blend 2 eggs with a small banana. Cook the batter in butter or olive oil heated on a griddle. 2. Increase your meat consumption. Meat is an important factor when it comes to creating satisfying low-carb meals. Since you aren't filling up on carbohydrates, you'll need extra meat in order to feel nourished and full. At least once a day, have a serving of lean chicken, beef or pork to alongside your vegetable dishes. Fish is another key component of a healthy low-carb diet. Aim to eat fish 1 to 2 times a week. Before making a purchase, check to see which types of fish are in season and have been sustainably sourced. Avoid eating large quantities of processed meats, like bacon, sausage, and cold cuts. These meats are preserved with nitrates or large amounts of salt, and recent studies have linked them to cancer risks. 3. Match carbs with oils or fat. Foods high in monosaturated fatty acids, polysaturated fatty acids, and omega-3 fatty acids aid in blood sugar control and heart health. Cook your vegetables in healthy oils such as olive oil or coconut oil to add flavor and essential nutrients. Avocados, nuts, and fish are also excellent sources of healthy fats. Avoid foods that contain trans fats, which may increase risk of heart disease and some cancers. Fried foods, processed snack foods, and processed meats are often high in trans fats. Animal fats, such as full-fat milk, butter, lard, and fattier cuts of beef and chicken, can also be healthy when eaten in moderation. However, some sources link these saturated fats with greater levels of cholesterol. Method 3: Avoiding common carbs. 1. Say no to sweets. Avoiding candy, baked goods, and other treats laden with sugar may be the toughest part of following a low-carb diet, but it's also the most important. Sugar is a simple carbohydrate that causes your blood sugar to spike and leads to weight gain. Most low-carb diets prohibit sugar in all its forms. White cane sugar is just one form of sugar to avoid. You should also remove other sugars like high fructose corn syrup, maple syrup, and honey from your diet. Check ingredient labels to see if products contain a form of sugar. Sugar is often a hidden ingredient in foods like tomato sauce and salad dressing. 2. Give up grains. Wheat, oats, rice, corn, and other grains also contain high amounts of carbohydrates. If you're going low-carb, you'll want to avoid both processed grains, like white flour, and whole grains, like whole wheat and steel-cut oats. That means that almost all bread, pasta, and other grain-heavy foods are off-limits. Just because a food is gluten-free doesn't make it low-carb. Baked gluten-free items don't contain wheat, but they may contain rice or another substitute grain that is just as carb-heavy. If you're not concerned with eliminating carbs entirely, whole grains are a better choice than processed grains. Unlike processed grains, whole grains have not been stripped of healthy vitamins, minerals, and fiber. 3. Watch out for fruit. Fruit is generally considered a healthy food since it's loaded with essential vitamins. However, that doesn't mean it's low in carbs. Fruit contains fructose, a form of sugar, and should be eaten in moderation. Limit your fruit consumption to 1-2 servings a day when you're on a low-carb diet. Eat whole, fresh fruit, preferably with the peel. Fruit contains high amounts of fiber and water, but you lose those benefits when you process fruit by juicing or drying it. Some fruits are higher in sugar than others. Choose strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, and kiwis over bananas and apples. 4. Try a milk substitute. Cow's milk contains natural sugars, so it's not a low-carbohydrate food. Skim and reduced fat milk are even higher in sugar than whole milk. If you're looking for a low-carb alternative, try soy, cashew, or almond milk. Make sure you buy unsweetened milk substitutes. Chocolate and vanilla flavored milk almost always has high sugar content. You can make your own nut milk at home. Soak a cup of raw cashews or almonds in 3 cups of water overnight. Drain the nuts, blend them well, then strain the liquid through a piece of cheesecloth. The resulting milk can be used in place of dairy milk in recipes. 5. Cut back on nuts and legumes. Nuts and legumes such as black beans and chickpeas have a moderate carbohydrate content in addition to being high in protein and fiber. If you want to cut carbohydrates entirely, avoid nuts and legumes. However, nuts and legumes can be a healthy part of a low-carb diet when eaten in moderation. Limit your nut intake to 1 handful per day as a snack. Have legumes as a small side dish, rather than making them the centerpiece of a meal. Method for making substitutions. 1. Substitute cauliflower for rice. Cauliflower has a mild, creamy taste that soaks up other flavors well, just like rice. Any dish that calls for white or brown rice can be made using cauliflower rice instead. Here's how to make it. Clean and chop 1 head of cauliflower. Process the chopped cauliflower in a food processor until you have small, rice-sized pieces. Cook the rice by placing it in a saucepan with a tablespoon of melted butter. Cover and steam for 8 minutes. 2. Try spaghetti squash. The flesh of roasted spaghetti squash really does have the texture of al dente spaghetti. It's a simple dish that hits the spot in the fall and winter months, when spaghetti squash is in season. You can even dress the squash with marinara sauce, or substitute it for pasta in another favorite dish. To cook spaghetti squash, preheat the oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Slice the squash in half lengthwise. Scrape out the seeds. Rub the flesh with olive oil, salt, and pepper. Place the squash halves in a roasting pan, cut side down, and roast for 40 minutes. When the flesh has cooled, scoop it out, serve plain or dressed with sauce. 3. Spiralized zucchini. This is your summer vegetable season counterpart to spaghetti squash. Spiralized zucchini has a springy texture and mild flavor that makes it a great substitute for carb-laden pasta. It's easiest to make it with a spiralizer machine. You just peel the zucchini and feed it through. If you don't have one, follow these steps. Peel a large zucchini. Use the large holes on a box grater to grate long, thin pieces of zucchini. Alternately, slice the zucchini into thin strips with a knife. Steam the zucchini with olive oil and water for about 10 minutes until cooked. 4. Swap out a bed of greens for pasta. Any pasta dish can be made into a low-carb, friendly meal by subbing out the pasta for fresh greens. You can serve the greens simply dressed with olive oil, parmesan, and pepper, or go for a heavier pasta sauce to satisfy your craving. Try arugula, butter lettuce, or a spring green mix to serve with lighter sauces. If you want a bed of greens that will hold up to thick sauce, try cooked spinach or Swiss chard in place of pasta. 5. Use lettuce wraps instead of bread. You don't have to give up your favorite sandwich experience when you go low carb, simply swap out the bread for a sturdy piece of iceberg or romaine. Start by spreading hummus or mayonnaise on the piece of lettuce, then top with cold cuts, fresh veggies, and your other favorite sandwich mix-ins. If you want a sturdier wrap, try using a collard leaf instead of lettuce. You can use lettuce in place of the crust when you're craving pizza, too. Brush the piece of lettuce with olive oil, add a sprinkle of cheese and some toppings, and pop it under the broiler for a few minutes to melt the cheese. Tips: 1 gram of carbohydrate provides about 3.5 calories of energy. Things: a calculator to take to the supermarket if you are trying to work out the calorie content via the carbohydrate content.